Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of COAGG Conversations. I'm your host, Cutie, and today we are joined by two incredible creators in gaming. We have Zellstice and we have Annie Krevice. Welcome to COAGG.
Thank
Thank you
you
so
for
much for
having
having
us.
us. I'm so excited.
It is it is my absolute pleasure to have you here as we honor the incredible work that a lot of creators are doing this month. And when I say this month, I mean Pride Month. And this episode is specifically highlighting all of their fantastic work and their achievements in the gaming community. Zelstis, why don't you go first and introduce yourself and tell everyone what you do and where they can find you?
Of course. Hello, I'm Zellstice. I am a variety gaming content creator, gaming comedy content creator, and I am the Women's Showcase lead for Pride Collaborations Universe this year. And you can find me on all the socials, but I'm mainly a Twitch streamer and YouTube creator under Zellstice.
Awesome. That's amazing. What does a women's showcase person do for PCU?
Yeah, so the showcase leads, and Annie is one of our showcase leads as well. There's a group of
Yeah.
us. We each have a specific demographic within the Pride community. So mine being women's, and Annie will talk about their showcase in a second, I'm sure. But mine is, any woman who is involved in PCU is welcome to be part of our showcase week. So that is from the 9th of June until a week after that. I can't remember the date. But yeah, we've got a few different events on, including like a very chill Valorant evening. Our main showcase event is a trivia night as well.
Awesome. That all sounds really, really amazing. Can't wait to talk more specifics with you on this very special episode. Annie, can you please tell everyone who you are, what you do, and where they can find you?
Sure thing. Hi, my name's Annie, Annie Krevice. I'm a trans woman and drag queen. I'm a variety streamer on Twitch, but you can find my content on pretty much all socials: Twitch, Instagram, TikTok, uh, Twitter, and Blue Sky. So yeah, I play a variety of games on Twitch, but I also kind of do different content as well. Sometimes I do drag makeup. I do my drag makeup on stream. I play games in drag. Other times we've done other stuff like cooking, just chatting content. We did a roast earlier this year. Yeah, and then I'm the trans, intersex, and gender non-conforming showcase lead for Pride collaborations this year. And I also sometimes you can find me if you're in Melbourne. I perform live in drag around Melbourne. I used to host a drag night called Everything's a Drag, which was about everyone being involved in drag. And I was particularly passionate about trans and AFAB queens, and drag artists having a stage in drag as well as the internet and content creation as well.
That's incredible, Annie. You must have just either you have so much passion, obviously, for this community, and I mean the confidence by days like that off the charts. Like to do stuff like that, to continue to be, introducing this to everyone, and like you said, like drag is something that everyone can participate in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love drag so much. It really helped me become who I am and feel really confident in myself. And I want that for everybody. And I think a lot of the times people have this old idea of what drag is, that they think it's like cis men dressing up like women, but it's not really
Mm.
always the case. Like anyone can do drag, and you can drag into, I guess, any form you want, whether you want to be a drag queen, king, like in between. Yeah, and it's really empowering, thing to get up on stage and perform, so I really love it. Mm.
Yeah, well, it's very clear. Everything that I've seen of yours is very, very passionate, very, very you, which I
Yeah.
really, really love to see. And I love that we've been able to bring you both to this podcast because I think that you both have some incredible insights and experience, and I think a lot of people in our community would really love to hear from you. Um, I first want to start off with, how did you both get started in this but, either, PCU getting involved with that, and also kind of blending your content with gaming. Zellstice, why don't you go first?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got involved in PCU. This is my first year being involved. It's been going for several years. And this is my first year getting involved because Venus AU and Anne Thunderfun approached me about being the Women's Showcase lead. And I didn't meet either of them until after Pride last year. But I always joke that Ant and I canonically hate each other, and therefore they purposely didn't meet me until after Pride. So couldn't include me. But no, I met them after Pride last year, and after they'd sort of run last year's events, and yeah, they just wanted me involved as the women's lead, which I was very excited to participate in. And as for like incorporating, I guess, my work in the space into my content, so I started streaming in 2021, and it's the only like activity I've done in my life where from the start I was fully out. I
Yeah,
had
okay.
never like been out to like my whole friend group, or even I wasn't out to my family until last Pride. So this is my first full Pride being fully out to my family, which is very exciting. So yeah, it was just like the first space where I like fully like went into it as like 100% myself, and I try and, I guess, cultivate a space online that is as welcoming to others as it can be, and sort of a space that maybe I might have needed when I was sort of figuring myself out a little bit, just somewhere where it doesn't matter what you identify as, but you can go and have a good time and it's good vibes. So that's kind of how I've tried to incorporate it without, because I definitely do my content isn't focused on my identity in that way, but I try and uplift the community through my content, if that sort of makes sense, in a like
Yeah, no,
very organic way, I
certainly.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, because I know that there are some people that, like, kinda lead with that, and this is who I
Yeah.
am, and, they try and be, I suppose, a role model for the people in their community,
Yeah, and I'm
but
not
I
equipped to be anyone's role model, so that is not what I want to do. But yeah.
Oh, well, you'd be surprised how many people would probably feel inspired by someone like yourself, just from existing. Sometimes role models can come from, people just being themselves. I don't know if you have been following along, but I actually did a series of Confessions of a Gamer Boy
Mm.
interview similar to this, and a lot of men don't realize the kind of, like, role models that they actually are by accident in their
Yeah.
communities. So, you're probably inspiring more people than you think, Solstice. Don't sell yourself short.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Um, Annie, how did you get started in this space? I'm sure you've got you know, a very transformative experience within gaming. Please, how did you begin?
I can't. It's really hard to pinpoint when I started doing streaming, but it might have been like, I think it's like 2017 or something like
Mm.
that. Um, I was mostly doing spoken word, so my background is in like spoken word, slam poetry, performing, like doing that around Melbourne. And then
Mhm.
I was kind of streaming and playing games on the side. I was actually so this was before I transitioned. I was a boy on the internet playing FIFA. I'm not going to say what username I used to be on Twitch because it's embarrassing. Uh,
Oh.
and then I switched. Um, yeah, I was doing that for a while.
Mm.
And then I guess just before COVID hit and like the lockdown and the pandemic and all of that sort of happened, I think it was like August the year before. I came out as non-binary, and
Mhm.
I started doing drag around that time. I started doing drag. I realized through drag that I was trans. And I told my partner, and she was incredibly supportive. And we kind of navigated this journey together, where not only was I transitioning, but as the lockdown hit and as the pandemic hit, I was transitioning live on stream. So you saw me. Went through a couple of iterations of like changing my username, and like experimenting with makeup. I learned like how to do drag makeup basically in front of people. Like every single Friday, I was doing my drag makeup, and it looked. It was very interesting, in a nice way at the start,
Yeah,
and started to
yeah, of
develop.
course.
I started practicing and playing around with it. There was a lot of like digital drag shows that the local drag community also did, and they brought that stuff to Twitch. So through that, I guess I transitioned and transitioned my content, and then like as the pandemic obviously happened, like there's no like live gigs. It was very hard for me to perform either
Mm,
poetry or drag. Um, I kind of had been burnt out from poetry
mhm.
at that point, and I kind of realized that like after things went back, that I didn't want to go back to poetry, so I kind of quit that, and I pretty much stuck with drag and like full time content from that, and that's how I've kind of like fell into this spot where I feel like, yeah, I did become like an accidental role model for people because there aren't like heaps of trans girls out there on the internet. Um, so so you do find that like now I meet like a lot of queer people and a lot of women, uh, yeah, and a lot of like young trans kids who look for look for people like me um, to ask them questions and to answer their questions and stuff like that. And then through the other part of the question is how we came to PCU. Um, I was in a stream team with Ant and V, um, a queer Australian stream team.
Mhm.
So I'd been working with them for a while. We've been doing collabs and like queer stuff together. We've been on panels and stuff together at PAX. So I've known them for a while. So yeah, it was like very natural for them to ask me to come on board and do more stuff with PCU. And yeah, very happy to help with that. Yeah.
That's amazing. I do appreciate how difficult that must have been because
Mhm,
one minute, you know, you're doing something, you know, streaming FIFA as, you know, a person that you don't 100% feel is you, and
mhm.
then, you know, to go through this journey and having the internet see that. I mean, you must have how did that feel?
Um, like there, like I did find like a new community from that,
Yeah.
and in the end, actually, like I feel like being a man on the internet and then like transitioning, like I guess my audience shrunk, but in the end, like the people I met were stronger and more supportive. Like,
Mhm.
um, yeah, uh, like meeting like a lot of supportive queer people, a lot of drag queens through Stream Queens, which is a Twitch team I'm on. Um, they helped me out. They supported me. So in the end, like I'm not going to say it's not difficult, and there's like a whole bunch of trolls and like online harassment that you kind of
Yeah.
deal with daily, but I had like a much stronger support network to deal with that, and like to be able to do it online and like I guess control the space in which I present myself and come out. um Being online, it was in some ways like a safer space to
Mm.
come out than like, yeah, being trans like elsewhere, like probably outside of Twitch and all of that. That's kind of more difficult than like being online and like, yeah, and being with my friends and just playing games and like being myself. Like that's exciting. Like in the end, it's like that's the exciting part and what I really love to do. Mm,
Oh, I'm so
mhm.
glad that I guess you can see that for I guess in hindsight, and you've
Yeah.
come out the other side, you know, a much better person. You know, you've had such a, you know, transformative journey, and it's really been, yeah, overall, by the sounds of it, a
Mhm.
positive experience, which is really,
Yeah.
really great to hear.
Yeah.
Um, you you both represent a minority in the community. I mean, not only do you identify as women, but you're also, you know, a part of the LGBTQI plus community as well. And I actually went and actually tried to find any definitive answers about the percentage of people in your community that are streaming on Twitch, and
Mhm.
actually, Twitch doesn't release that information,
Mhm.
at all, which I don't know. How do you think that that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it would be nice to see because they don't do 100%, like they don't do a perfect job of collecting the data, but there are certain, and I guess it's also optional though to fill out. There's a streamer
True.
survey and stuff that you can fill out where,
Yeah,
for anyone that
Mm.
is listening that doesn't know, where you can give your identities. But it is optional to do. But I personally would like to see that data. I think it would be interesting. I think there's things that they could also add, like certain questions. I know that, and I only learnt this because of our friend V. Like, there's no question about intersex people on the survey. So
Mhm.
V's like, I don't have anywhere to put that part of my identity in the survey. So I think I would love to see the data, and I also think that Twitch could do a better job of collecting or giving people the option to fill in their data as well.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
100%. I'm sure there's, like, other statistics about how many, like, queer people are involved in, like, gaming and stuff like that, but I suppose
Mm,
those surveys would be, like, very limited in terms of, like, some people don't wanna, like don't feel, like, comfortable or safe to, like, give up that
Yeah.
information and others do. But I think queer people are, like, bigger than people realize.
probably.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I
Mm.
think I personally get a lot of feedback, and when I say feedback, I mean criticism
Mhm.
from usually cis white men. Is is that
Mhm.
why does it matter? Why does representation matter? Like I'm flying the flag for gamer girlies, out here, and
Mhm.
they kind of like why is it gamer girl and why can't it just be gamer?
Mhm.
Um, do you feel like that it's unnecessary that you have something like a
Mm.
Pride collaboration universe for Pride Month in gaming? Like, how do you feel about
God, it's such a big question. There's so many nuances to it.
I suppose
Um,
if you're usually asking that question, you're it's probably because you are well represented and you've never had a situation where you've gone, "I don't feel like I'm part of this." Um, so the repre when you do find that, like, you're not represented or it's hard to find people like me, then, then you're like, "Well, where is the representation?" And you're really struggling to find those spaces, and you really, like, hold on to those spaces where you are included. And I'll say that it's not just, like, for me as a trans person or me as a woman. Um, I often find now I'm looking for representation in terms of my age as well, because I
that?
just turned 39 a couple of months ago. Um, and so finding, like, older women in gaming, I'm like, that's like, I found, like, a couple of, like, friends in the content creation space that are older, like in their late 30s and, like, early 40s and stuff like that. And that's
Mm.
really, that's such a great role model for me, because it says I can keep doing this in a couple of years to come, and I'm not, like, hitting, like, some sort of, like, expiry date with content creation where I'm getting too old to play games on the internet, which I found really cool. Like, I found some grandmas who, like, play Minecraft and stuff, and I'm like, I want to be a grandma that, like,
yeah,
plays Minecraft into my 60s. That would be really cute.
yeah,
Um,
Yeah, no, you're exactly right, and I love that sentiment. You saying like if you're wondering why there needs to be representation of other people, then clearly you're very well presented,
mhm,
well represented in that community. So yeah, 100%. And the age thing, I'm 34. I just
mhm,
turned 34, and I'm like, okay, all right, we're
mhm,
getting there. I can feel
mhm,
it. I when I go to the conventions, I'm just like, okay, I can't have nights out every single night, I need
mhm.
to I need to
Yeah,
go to bed. But yeah, but that I don't know if men feel that way, but,
yeah,
that's probably, like,
mhm,
a whole other podcast, right?
yeah,
Um, and yeah, I just sometimes am baffled at some of the responses about, "Oh, well, why do we even need a Pride Month?"
mhm.
Why does this need to happen? Um Zellstice, do you have anything else to say to that kind of comment?
yeah. I guess so. It's like it's a very like full on topic, and I think
Mm,
like people, because the people within the communities are the ones putting these events together, right? So like the people
mm,
in these communities want that event. They want that you know, because they're looking for connection, right? They're looking,
Yeah.
it's like, it's so important to feel seen as well, like, within the media that we consume and the communities that we're a part of. Like one of the things, and so I am a bisexual woman. So I quite often, the anecdote that I think of is, it's so the relationship in the game The Last of Us 2 between,
Mhm.
there's a lesbian woman and a bisexual woman that are in a relationship, and that is so important to me, that bisexual woman is seen as bisexual,
Mm-hmm.
because it's so easy to write off their relationship as a lesbian relationship. It's like, well, no, like her bisexuality and her relationship with a man was a key part of her story and who she became, you know, how she developed through the game as a woman. And like I didn't realize until I played that through that game how important seeing that represented in something that I love, which is video games, would be to me. And so I feel like very protective of that character and that relationship and how that is portrayed, and like the importance of that, of seeing that and having that representation just like really hit my heart, I guess. So it's just for people that are like, well, why are these things needed? And it's like, because people want to see that. They want to see themselves represented. They want to have that connection, whether it be through characters or through community. Like you can't understate the value of feeling seen. I think is
Mm.
like, for me, like 100% the most important thing, of just being like, oh, like I get that, I feel that, and it's so important to me, and I know a lot of other people in the community would probably feel similar.
Yeah, I find a lot of the time it's femme presenting women who are doing this advocating, and they're the ones getting questioned. It's
Mm.
it's it's kind of like funny that it's always that, right? It's like,
Mm.
or the moment you're seen as a woman, you're immediately not taken as seriously. You need
Mm-hmm.
to prove
Yeah.
yourself more. You know, you can't. It doesn't matter if you like boys or girls, or if you started off as a boy and now you're a girl. You still always have this chip on your shoulder about, I have to prove my worth. I have to prove that I'm good at this. I'm the most knowledgeable. That's my experience as,
Mm-hmm.
a cis white woman. And
Yeah.
I can only imagine, if you add any other complication onto that, that, you know, God forbid, a woman have depth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what
God
I
forbid.
mean?
Well,
Yeah.
But mm,
well, I saw I kind of saw that experience of like not being taken as seriously in real time, because I went from spaces where I was taken seriously because I
mm,
presented as like a white white man, and I think most people thought I was as like a straight man, um, but I identified as bisexual. I'm a lesbian now, but like back when I was a man, I identified as bi, but I was in a straight passing relationship, I guess. But I was taken
mm,
seriously, and then the more and more I presented feminine, and the more I appeared in society as a woman, the more I found in spaces I get like talked over or interrupted. It was wild. It's like night and day. People make space to talk to let you talk when you're a man, and then sometimes you have to really fight to speak in those spaces when you're a woman. And like it was a real like eye opening and like learning experience for me, because my partner, I guess, would talk about that kind of stuff, but to experience that in like real time, like for yourself, was yeah huge, to like kind of learn that like yeah, now I have to like prove myself and like
Yeah.
not just like convince people that I know what I'm talking about, rather than I'm just like trying to be like a pretty face on the internet or whatever. People kind of have
Mm.
totally changed their perception of me based on like
mm.
how I appear, which is wild. Like, yeah,
That
it's
it's
crazy.
what a unique
Mhm,
experience.
mhm,
If only those men
mhm,
took you actually seriously and were like, guys, I used to be you, all right?
mhm,
It was great. It was a great time. I never thought there was an issue. There is
mhm,
actually an issue, okay?
mhm.
There's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Zell, you mentioned that there's, you have this strong relationship, strong feelings towards, seeing Ellie. in the Ellie? Ellie in The Last of Us?
Dina is the bisexual character, but
Mhm.
yes.
Oh, sorry,
Ellie
Dina.
and Yeah.
Yeah. In The Last of Us. Any and you again, Zell,
Mhm.
are there any other characters that you feel like have really kind of represented
Mm.
you as a person in a video game?
Oh, I don't have Dina was the best one I had.
The
I don't know
best
if I
one,
have
yeah,
another
that's
one.
right.
Yeah.
The one that immediately comes to mind is just because I used to play a lot of Apex. When they
Mhm.
introduced Catalyst in Apex, I can't remember, a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
The first trans woman hero to be introduced into Apex, and I found that representation really great.
Mhm.
Mostly, like, the thing that struck me the most about her was the voice acting. They got a trans woman to voice act for her, and as a trans woman who I don't really voice train or like try to change my voice all of that much. It's not to say I won't in the future, but to hear a trans woman represented like that without necessarily, um, yeah, changing their voice and like, yeah, that was really cool to me. Just to hear her with the voice lines and stuff. I
Mhm.
feel like Apex do a really good job of that, and I feel like they did a lot of work into like researching that character and like researching like kind of how best to portray trans women. Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
Mm.
I suppose Overwatch got a little bit of backlash over doing something
Mhm.
like that, but I mean, Overwatch, they don't care. They do what they want. That's fine.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, and I mean, feel this similarly as a woman.
Mhm.
I just want to feel included just naturally. I don't need it to be
Yep.
tokenistic.
Yeah.
I don't need there to
Mhm.
be like, you know, yeah, like we have Pride Month, we have, International Women's Day. Like I actually don't really like not care, but
Mhm.
I just want to like we've said before, like I just want to feel included just
Yeah.
naturally.
For sure.
And inserting those characters, and I think you're right, Last of Us 2 does do that really, really well with a story-driven game.
Mhm.
It it really makes you feel it's meaningful because no one's making a big deal about it. The only people who are making a big deal about it are the people it doesn't actually mean anything to.
Yeah.
Mm.
For sure. Yeah, it's about like, for lack of a better term, just like normalizing it. Like this is just a normal part of life, like society. Like,
Yeah.
queer people exist. Um and just feeling included in a way that's not tokenistic is a huge part of it. Like not like one of the reasons I like the character of Dina so much and her representation is because it's not like it's just it's very naturally within the game. It's not something that is like hugely called out or pointed towards, and there's a time and place for calling things like that or calling things like that out and making a big deal of it. But it's also just there's something so beautiful about just seeing like a character that I feel connected to that identifies the same as I connect as I identify just naturally within a game for you to discover that that's what they're like. And it's just it's nice to just have it as just a normal part of a video game, you know?
We just
Yep.
I think we just wanna feel included,
Mhm.
regardless. So, it's not like you
Mm.
say, tokenism means nothing. Like, I don't need a
Mhm.
special, like, announcement. "Oh,
Yeah.
here comes the woman. Here comes
Yeah.
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
queer person.
Mhm.
Yeah,
We
100%.
have 20% queer people in this video game. You're gonna
Mhm.
love
Yeah.
it. You're gonna
Yeah,
love
we made
it.
our
It's a great
quota.
game."
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Um Oh, there was something that I wanted to, touch on, and I can't remember quite what it was, so I think I'll come back to it if it comes to me.
Mhm.
But, you guys have obviously been a part of many collaborations, throughout Pride Month, even just, throughout the years. What is like, one of your most memorable moments being part of this community, whether it be an activation or, just an experience that you've had? Annie, you go first.
I'd probably say one of the first ones that comes to mind is last year. we held a panel at PAX called Transfer the Controller, and it was a panel of trans content creators. And it was like a packed house, like the whole room was full. It was like Sunday 12:30. It was like not the kind of like most peak time, but the turnout was enormous. And to have like an amazing bunch of panelists up there talking about being trans, but also like there were a bunch of trans people in the audience who asked questions. Like I particularly remember a young trans girl got up and asked a question about uh, what it was like coming out in an Asian family. And we had Claire's up
Mm.
alongside me, who's another Asian content creator, a trans woman as well, and she was able to answer that question. And like for Claire's, I think it was really empowering to realize that she could be that role model as well. So like being able to help people and stuff, that was that was a really cool moment. But also the other moment that comes to mind is I got invited to do an Apex like women's tournament a couple of years ago by Lace for International Women's Day on Twitch. And that was really cool to be invited to that because for me it's like a great example of how I was just another girl like in that event.
Yeah.
And like you said before, like it's nice when it's not necessarily seen as like tokenistic or like you know people when I came into that, it wasn't like Lace was like, and here is the trans woman, the one trans woman we invited.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was just another girl that was invited, and that's kind of in women's spaces, in particular, women's spaces in gaming. Like that's what I really want. That's what I'm looking for.
Yep.
A lot at the moment is like I just like sometimes I'm happy to be the trans girl and advocate for myself and advocate for other trans women, but sometimes I just want to be a girl and I just want to play games with other girls and just be seen like another girl. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And honestly, like, that's how I treat it, but I will say I know that some people present femme and they're
Mm-hmm.
not they don't identify that way, and it
Yeah.
makes it really tricky for me to kind of, I guess, pick up on
Mm-hmm.
how I should go about interacting with that person. So
Mm-hmm.
I will say I have, and this is probably because of, I don't know, just probably my general experience, but I actually hold back a little bit, and I kinda wait to, like, pick up on cues of
Mm-hmm.
how maybe the people who are more familiar with that person on,
Mm-hmm.
maybe what they call them or how they treat them.
Yeah.
So I feel sometimes I feel a bit scared.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say, because
Mm-hmm.
I never want to offend anyone, and I never want
Mm-hmm.
to assume anything about anyone. But I don't know, if I, really love the color of their nails or something like that, and they're femme presenting, but actually, they're not, they don't
Mm-hmm.
identify like that, I feel like I might offend someone. So what if you could help me with that, that would be great.
Uh, I mean, I feel like I go out, like, especially at events and stuff like that, even though I am quite femme presenting, like, I really go out of my way at a lot of those
Yeah,
events um, to appear that way. So I'm like clearly signaling to people that that's who I am. But I'm also, if a question or whatever comes from like a good place, from good intentions,
okay.
I like I would say myself and like a lot of like trans trans women or like femme presenting people aren't like offended when you ask those clarifying questions about what are your pronouns and all of
Okay.
that. Like often people will wear badges and like stuff like that to more clearly indicate so people know.
Yeah,
But like yeah, people like check in with me is like, are my pronouns she her, or do I identify as a woman? I'm not going to be like offended by that. In some cases, like I'll be excited by the question because I'm probably just as nervous as you, and I don't. Sometimes I'm like, do I fit in this place? Or if I go up and speak to women, like, am I going to be welcomed into that space? You asking that question gives me an in to like talk about that and introduce myself.
yeah.
So it's not like scary for us at all. It's like it's an opportunity for us to like
Oh, okay.
just be part of it. Like yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. Well, that's
Mm,
that's really, really good to know, because I mean, I have never had any issue
mhm,
if you I've had hosted a number of events where trans women have come, and they're not, they're still in their transformation stage, like, they might not be where they want to be presenting themselves in the most feminine way possible. But if they're there and, they like, look, if you want to be a woman, which is actually really, really hard sometimes, please
Yeah.
join us because we're struggling. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
but no, that's actually really good. And I think, just keeping those conversations flowing about, what would you like to be called?
Yeah.
That would be really, really great. I just,
Yeah.
I just don't want to make anyone angry. And,
Yeah.
like someone's asking me if I'm a boy or a girl when I'm actually neither. That's really offensive. And how dare you try to put me in those holes?
Yeah.
I
I
just
don't
never.
think
Okay.
most trans people wouldn't react like that. I'm not going to say no, none of us.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, for the most part, we're all just like
Yeah.
chill. We want to ask questions. We're happy to clarify. We're used to being like
Thank you.
people assuming the wrong thing or misgendering us or like deliberately misgendering us. So yeah, for people to ask, like, it's no
Okay.
worries
Excellent.
whatsoever.
And Zellstice, I'm sure if a man flirted with you and you were not in your man era for that day, and you said, kindly, trot on.
I am unfortunately always in a man era. I'm also always in a woman era though. So I just am always flirting.
Slay.
No, I just mean like I feel
Yeah.
like, like if you were to say, no, thank you, like, not my vibe, like it would be totally different. But when you're talking about, the way you present to people, like it's probably
Yeah.
a little bit
Very, very
different. I do see a lot of jokes about being a femme presenting lesbian and how that's really difficult. Celsius, is this true? Is this
As like, because I am extremely feminine and I am, as a result, very straight passing. And my most recent long-term relationship was with a man, and something he said to me, and it'll always stick with me, is, oh, it can't have been that hard for you as a bisexual woman. And I was like, bruh.
What do you
just in terms
wait,
of,
what did he wait, hold on. What do you mean by that?
I still don't really understand what he meant, but I think it was just in terms of like, well, you've never been oppressed kind of thing. And I was like, bestie, what are you talking about?
Have you met men? No.
It was very strange. So yeah, like there's definitely unfortunately, an element of being bisexual, very feminine, girly pop that does it means I can come across as very straight passing, and that can feel a little bit dismissive. I don't know if that's the right word, but for me, like I've never really felt queer enough, and there have been a couple things in the last year, honestly, that have sort of validated my identity a little bit more, which has been really nice. So yeah, it's just I don't really even know if there's like an answer to it, or like what can really be done. It's just it's an unfortunate part of the stereotype. Like I don't wear flannels and chop wood like the classic lesbian stereotype. Not that all lesbians do that. I just know my DMs will be flooded from people if I don't clarify. But yeah, like I think in the last couple years, I've been given some opportunities. The reason I came out to my family last Pride was actually because I was given an opportunity to take part in the Mardi Gras event that TikTok was putting on. I used to stream regularly on TikTok, and I was given that opportunity, and I said yes, and I was like, I probably need to tell my family that I also like girls. And so that was why I came out to them. And I think like getting that opportunity was very validating to my identity. And then obviously being involved in PCU has also been super validating for my identity, because it's like, oh, I'm seen like as not straight, which is what I want to be seen as. So it's really nice.
No, that's great. Yeah, look, it's probably a conversation for a private area, maybe not in public. But I will say, like, it's hard when you're a girly pop. It's hard when you, no matter your sexual preference. But you know what? I also think, is it really any of my damn business who you date and who you
Mhm.
want to
Yeah.
be intimate with? Like, that's really none of my business. Like, what, and I just find this, like, constant need for people to know, like, oh, are you straight? Are you queer? Are you even, like, a girl? Or, like, do you have kids? Like, where do you live? Like, all this kind of stuff. It's very, like, full on, because
Yeah.
people just see us all the time. And I don't think that in general, in content creation, like, it's ever kind of been so bad. And I think
Yeah. I think
that
I was just
you're
gonna
gonna say
say, like,
something. Yeah, go.
um that's a like really valid point. Is like the examples that I just gave were external validation of my identity, but it's also really important to be clear that, like, no, you don't need to have external validation for your identity. Like, if you feel whatever way you feel about whatever kind of person you feel, or even about yourself, like, that is so valid. You don't need other people to validate that for you. So, like, if if there's someone out there that, like, is, exploring their sexuality or their, gender identity at the moment, like, they don't need to seek validation from others. Like, you don't need someone to say, you know what, yes, you are that way. Like, you just are that way. Like, if you want to be, like, if that's who you are, if that's who you
Mhm.
feel you are, then that's who you are. Like, you don't need external validate. It could be nice to have external validation, but it's also really important to have that understanding of, like, you don't need any external sources to be validating who you are. Like,
Mhm.
you are valid the way that you are, and whatever way you feel, however you identify. Like, you don't owe anyone that information either. Like, 100%. Like, you don't have to share it. You can keep it to yourself. If that's something that you just want to keep to your chest because it's important to you, that's so valid. But if you want to, like, scream it from the rooftops, and either to be an advocate or just because you're so excited about it, that's also really valid. Like, however
Mhm.
Yeah.
you approach it is there's no wrong. I don't believe there's any, like, wrong way of embracing who you are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I
I agree
agree.
with that. But also, like, you were saying that, like, people feel this need to, like, ask questions and know intimate details. It is kind of wild, especially on Twitch and stuff, what people, because they have that anonymity, that thing behind us, they can hide behind a username or, like, a fake, like, burner account or whatever, the kinds of things that they can ask. And uh, like people asking, like, intimate details of your sex life, or, like,
Yeah.
like, I get, like, the amount of times I get asked intimate questions about my body is ridiculous. Like, and I'm like, I'm
I
happy to
have a
answer.
feeling I know what question
Yeah,
they ask
yeah,
you
Yeah.
every
yeah,
Oh
day.
my
yeah. Like,
god.
the amount of times I've been asked what's in my pants is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Considering, like, they're never gonna get in my pants, so, like, there's nothing, like, yeah, there's no reason
You
to
heard
ask
it
that
first,
question.
internet,
Mhm.
okay?
Yeah.
You never
Yeah,
never
yeah.
gonna happen.
Yeah, it's just like you've got no shot. Like, yeah, people think that they can ask those questions all the time. And like we were saying before, I'm happy to answer questions with good intentions. And, like, when I feel like, when I know it's, like, about, like, might be like I need to learn more to welcome somebody into a space, or, like, make somebody feel included. But you can tell when somebody's asking a question to try to make you feel smaller, or to try to, like,
Yeah.
make you feel defensive about your identity, or question who you are, as if, like, them exposing that I have to answer this question about what's in my pants, like, makes me, like, any more or less a woman. Like, that is, like, that's ridiculous. Like, and unless you're paying for my bottom surgery, like, yeah,
Yeah.
like, you can leave me alone. Like,
Yeah,
you
literally.
know, yeah. But then I say it's like you can hide behind the anonymity of the internet. But I've also heard, yeah, members of my family asking questions to other members of my family, intimate details about
Mm,
myself, that
mhm.
they weren't going to ask me. But it's a little bit like, why are you asking that question? You don't really know. Like, um, yeah, asking this question in a way that's like they don't understand
Mm.
my identity, and they don't really want to understand. So, um, and then, yeah, I'm not interested in entertaining those questions either. Like,
Oh, we love a grown woman answer, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
that is grown woman energy if I ever heard it, Annie, so
Mhm.
thank you for bringing that here.
No worries.
Because honestly, it's about setting those really healthy boundaries. You're not being a bitch by, saying, "No, I'm not gonna tell you if what's in my pants," or,
Mhm.
or, who I'm dating at the moment, or, who whatever the question might be, because it's none of their business. They're strangers. You don't
Mm.
you don't owe them anything, and even people in your own discords, your little communities, things like that, you don't have
Mhm.
to tell them everything, you can just, you know,
Yeah.
be cool, calm, and collected in yourself, confident in you knowing who you are, and you don't have to share that tea with other people, and if
Yeah.
you're worried about people liking you, that's just a waste of energy,
Mhm.
um, because
Mm.
the people that genuinely like you will stick around, and the others will, you go away, which
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's
Dude.
where they belong, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, Zellstice and Annie, do you have any, sort of, advice for new or transforming people, that are part of the queer community that you could give them for their journeys along the way?
Hmm.
Are we both being polite and waiting for the other person to
No,
answer?
I'm thinking,
Yeah.
'Cause I mean, I personally would love to know, like, how can I be more supportive? Like, I think I try my best to be supportive by just, if you're a girly pop, you're a girly pop.
mm,
Yeah, let's hang out. If you're not, that's cool too. Just don't bring down my girly pop.
mhm.
But
Mhm.
but yeah, it's, yeah, it can be a little bit difficult for some people to, know how to support, I suppose.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
I think I said it before in that, like, the most important thing to me at the moment, I don't know whether this will change, but at the moment, the thing that's most important to me in terms of feeling, like, included and supported is just, like, being invited to those events or being, like, included in those spaces as another woman.
Mm.
Like, those are the most affirming and, like, supportive, um, moments for me to get a chance to represent myself, as a woman, and I'll say, like, even being on this podcast is, like, kind of a highlight for my Pride Month to be, like, made to feel like, um yeah, to made to feel like I'm just like another girl, so that's really cool.
Oh.
Um, yeah.
That's so lovely to hear, Annie, because yeah, you've been in our Discord for a while now, and
Mhm,
like I've never like, I don't want to like have to, point people out or anything, because you are just another one of the girls, and I will automatically treat, anyone who wants to be a part of our community, who wants to be
mhm,
identified that way, like that, because yeah, that's just the right thing to do, of course.
yeah.
So yeah, Zell, how do you think that people can support, or how any advice that you have for people in this space?
Yeah, I think that when it comes to support, like I guess Annie covered it a little bit, is like just including regardless, like just including people regardless of their identity or whatnot, or their, sexual preference or whatever. I think, like, yeah, and not making it tokenistic is a really nice
Mm,
feeling.
mhm.
Yeah, and just, I totally like get what you were saying before about feeling a little bit scared sometimes to ask questions, and I think since being more involved in the community, I've felt like that fear that I used to have as well sort of break down a little bit,
Yeah.
because any questions, literally anyone that I've interacted with, especially in PCU, um, as long as the questions are coming from like a good place, like people are
Mhm.
happy to answer them. Um, so yeah, it's definitely like, don't be scared. We're just normal people too.
Okay. No, and look, I can say this like with 100% certainty. I've never felt afraid of anyone who is in this community at all.
Mm,
Um, it's other kinds of people that I've been afraid of, and I mean, I have been afraid of offending
mhm,
Yes.
people,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've never been made to feel like threatened or anything like that. So, um, yeah, people are just very strange sometimes about this kind of
Yeah.
thing.
And honestly, like, there's no wrong question as long as the questions are coming from a good place.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important to remember.
Yeah.
Well, I
And
appreciate you both.
Yeah, and sometimes I don't mind answering or detailed questions because sometimes I'm like ADHD and like sometimes it's TMI. I'll like blab my whole life story. Like if given the chance, I'm like, oh my god, I've said too much. I've given too much details. But I'm an open book. I don't really care. Care that much. Sometimes I can like if I feel safe enough, I'll
Yeah.
say whatever I want, give as much detail as I want. Like it's fine. Like
That's your prerogative, you know,
yeah,
and you're
yeah,
allowed to have that.
yeah.
All right. I want to introduce a new segment to COAGG
Mhm.
Conversations, and I have a
Okay.
couple of trivia questions that are
Mhm.
related to Pride Month, and
Mhm.
let's see if you
Oh.
can
Oh.
answer them. They are based around video games,
Okay.
and specifically, specific queer representation in video games. So, all right. Okay, so I guess we can use your name as the buzzer, I suppose. So if you want to
Mhm.
answer it,
Okay.
just say Zell
Okay.
or say Annie. Or,
Mhm.
okay. What is the first known video game to explicitly feature a gay protagonist?
Zell, I have
Yep.
an advantage on this because I'm putting together a trivia night. But it's something do parking, right? Like I'm like, I have an advantage on this. Doesn't remember the full game name.
Mhm.
I
Um,
have a different video game
really?
as the
Oh.
answer.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
what do you know what year that game was?
It was in the 80s. I don't remember exactly what.
Oh, okay. Well, this one is from the 80s, 1989, and it's Caper in the Castro, and it was an indie detective game about rescuing a drag queen in San Francisco's Castro district.
Uh-huh.
I love
And
that.
it was actually called they actually wrote gamer like
Mhm.
we are
Amazing.
game we're a gamer like in the advertising, and it was like in that 8-bit format, but it was actually around the prevalence of like the AIDS crisis
Mhm.
that was
Of
happening
course.
during that time. So yeah, really
I never heard of
uh,
that. That's so cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
okay.
Mm.
This one might be a bit easier. Which classic Japanese RPG series introduced one of the game's earliest transgender characters? And what was their
Annie.
name? Yep.
Wait, was it Birdo in
Yeah.
Mario? Okay. Yeah.
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 Yep.
Wait, is
Yeah,
Birdo
Birdo.
trans?
Yeah.
Yep.
I
Birdo's
didn't
trans.
know that.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So Super Mario Brothers 2,
Mhm.
Birdo is often cited as an early trans-coded character.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, because
sick.
I've seen, like, and I suppose when they say trans, I mean like without a bow and with a bow.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's
The
literally
Mario.
what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mario gendering. Yeah.
I Yeah, I think,
Okay.
like, in one of those early Mario games, Birdo, like, there's a whole storyline to do with, like,
That's
Birdo being,
amazing.
trans, and I believe she was, like, chucked in jail in the game for, like,
Yeah.
using a women's bathroom, and, like, some of the ways they did it, they didn't get it quite right, but, like, the trans community of, like, we've kind of adopted her and, like yeah,
Aw,
yeah, it's really cute. I really love
that
her.
is really cute. I love
Yeah.
that.
No, it's a really interesting trivia, I
Yeah.
think.
Mm.
Okay. What controversial 2003 BioWare game was originally supposed to include same-sex romance option, but it was removed before release?
What year was it?
2003.
BioWare.
It's BioWare.
I don't know.
I've played a lot of BioWare games. I feel like I should know this. 2003. Same sex. Zell, is it? It's not the original Mass Effect, is it?
No. No,
Okay,
it's not. Okay, do you want me to tell you?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh, really?
Ah.
Mhm. Uh yeah, it was supposed to have same-sex romance, but it was cut due to rating restrictions.
Wow.
And I can assume that public backlash around Star Wars and same-sex romance, I
Mm,
can assume
yeah.
these cis men ruined it, I
Mm.
reckon. That's
Mm.
I'm just saying. Anyway, okay. Which fighting game franchise stirred controversy in the 1990s for including LGBTQI plus characters in its roster?
Any Mortal
Yep.
Kombat?
Yes, Mortal
Okay.
Kombat.
Oh,
So some characters were speculated to be
Yeah.
LGBTQI plus, though official representation came much later.
hmm
mm.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then last one. Which blockbuster RPG franchise caused a stir when it introduced its first openly gay companion in 2011?
2011.
11.
It's medieval.
Oh. Medieval.
2011. Annie, is it Skyrim?
No,
Is it from that franchise at all?
no.
Zell. Is it
Yeah,
the original Kingdom Come Deliverance?
no. It's Dragon Age 2.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I should have
So
known that. I played that last year too. That's so embarrassing.
the character Anders was openly gay, marking a shift in representation for the franchise.
There you go.
There
Cute.
you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So people complain that Dragon Age, the new one, is terrible and woke and all that kind of stuff. They've been doing it forever.
Dragon
so.
Age has always been so gay.
Yeah.
It's always been gay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for entertaining me with the little quiz at the end. I really,
That was
really
cute.
enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was fun. I loved that.
And thank you everyone who is listening or watching the podcast post filming. And if you are interested in seeing any of the work that PCU is doing, you could visit their website, pcu.gg, and that will have their schedule of all events that are happening throughout the month of June. And of course, I will have Zell's and Annie's links down below so that you can go ahead and follow them, see what they're up to. And it's been an absolute pleasure to have you both on. Thank you so much for joining us here at COAGG.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us. It's been a real joy. It's been really fun.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. We will see you next time for another episode of Confessions of a Gamer Girl. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.